It's on. Hello everybody. I'm back. It's Kay here and I am making my next video on the Mandela effect. I know there were a few things that I said I wanted to get into last video and I wasn't prepared and I really wanted to get in depth regarding dimensions and I didn't have the stuff ready. So I've got a few things that I want to go over this time. Still not ready. I had something already. I'm using that word a lot, aren't I? Anywho, I had a little script all ready to go. I was typing it up, almost done, and my computer rebooted. I went to do something, and in those few minutes, I decided to restart to install some updates, and I went through my recent stuff, and it was all gone. No recovered documents or anything. So I'm just gonna wing it again, I guess. I'd like to go into Flatland, A Romance of Many Dimensions, the old book that puts dimensions in perspective. This video is really going to kind of prop up the ideas I had about beings of higher dimensions having pretty easy time manipulating things down here. I'm going to go ahead and do that after I play the original Forrest Gump video, so if you came here just for that, you can get that out of the way and you don't have to watch me anymore. I'm new. This is my third video ever. I don't know how to edit. I don't know how to do anything, but I just downloaded a new app. So this video is going to be pretty awful. First time editing, but through the magic of editing, here is Forrest Gump. Original life is like a box of chocolates. Not was. It's not was. I'm sorry.
I read the first line. The first line of the book is being an idiot ain't no box of chocolates.
My mom always said that life is like a box of chocolates.
Wait a minute, so did y'all hear that?
My first video slice ever. Pretty awesome, I know. No need to applaud. Anyhow, the thing about the Mandela effect, I think I mentioned something like this in my last video, is it's bringing people who would have never considered any of this stuff into it. These videos are getting huge amounts of views. People are questioning their little three-dimensional, boxy, naturalistic, nothing else exists but what we can see, hear, smell, touch, and taste. And it's bringing them into the realm of how small we are here. People who think they know everything are now realizing the more they think they know, the more they don't know at all. The more I learn about this stuff, the more crazy and unbelievable it seems. Seriously, the more I know, the more I don't know. There's just layer after layer of just unbelievable revelation that comes out of researching this stuff. One thing I've noticed reading legends and ancient texts and mythology from cultures all around the world and accounts of people's encounters with crazy fourth or up dimensional entities or powers. And one thing I've gathered from reading all of this is first world country, first world people tend to get visitations or interactions on a more person-to-person basis. It's kind of individual, so people can still kind of deny it. In third world countries, these things manifest just openly. Even to this day, there are shamans and medicine men that perform crazy miracles with the help of these entities just out in the open for everyone to see. So the cool thing about the Mandela effect is it's getting these square-minded people from the first world who've never experienced anything that some of us have. It's getting them to actually question their place in this universe. And that's pretty amazing. I've seen a few things from people who should know better, still dismissing it as mass memory disillusionment, which is pretty stupid. I mean, some of these things that are getting changed by the Mandela effect, that they're not just random obscure lines in movies. These are generational quotes. They're coffee mugs and t-shirts and merchandise. They are a generation. They are a group, like the Jedi junkies. Luke, I am your father. Life is like a box of chocolates. That has been repeated over and over in parodies and other videos. I was just watching Barbie, Life in the Dream House. And they've got Ken saying, Mom always said life is like a box of chocolate. That's what it is. And it's just offensive for somebody who's experienced the exact same thing to look at you in your face and say, no, millions of people just remembered it wrong. Really? I digress. I'm going to go into Flatland, Roman's Many Dimensions, which goes to show the difference that one dimension makes. Scientific theory, physics, all of them point to many, many dimensions. Masonic string theory, 26 dimensions. The Bible, 12 dimensions. No matter what you look at, there's going to be quite a few more dimensions than what we experience right now. So the implications are just profound considering the difference just one dimension can make. And I guess I'll get into that now. This story is going to be from the perspective of a square living on a two-dimensional plane, a plane of only length and width. Every shape he sees is going to be from the side, no top or bottom. So it's going to be different lengths of straight lines with varying degrees of brightness per line, depending on the casting of light on those lines. So everything straight on, flat and plain, and that is his entire existence. Okay, so our square in the story, it describes everything in Flatland, their culture, the land of length and width, and our character falls asleep and has a dream. He dreams that he sees a vast multitude of small straight lines, which he assumed were women, Flatland, I will go
interspersed
with
other beings,
still smaller and of the nature of
square
ends up all moving to and fro in one straight line.
One dimension called Lineland. Approaching the longest line of this one-dimensional place, he accosted her. He assumed it was a woman because in his realm, lines are women. He received no answer. A second and third appeal on my part were equally ineffectual. Losing patience at what appeared to me to be intolerable rudeness, I brought my mouth into a position full in front of her mouth as to intercept her motion and loudly repeated my question. Woman, what signifies this concourse and this strange and confused chirping that I hear, and this monotonous motion to and fro within the same straight line? I am no woman, replied the king. I am the monarch of the world. But thou, whence intrudest thou into my realm of Lineland? Receiving this abrupt reply, I begged pardon if I had any way startled or molested his Royal Highness. Describing myself as a stranger, I besought the king to give me some account of his dominions, but I had the greatest possible difficulty in obtaining any information on points that were really of interest of me, for the monarch could not refrain from constantly assuming that whatever was familiar to him was familiar to me, and that I was simulating ignorance in jest. But by persevering questions, I elicited the following facts. It seemed to me that this poor, ignorant monarch, as he called himself, was persuaded that this straight line in which he called his kingdom and he passed his existence constituted the whole of the world, and indeed the whole of space. Not being able to either move or see save in his one dimension, he had no conception of anything out of it. Though he had heard my voice when I first addressed him, the sounds had come to him in a manner so contrary to his experience that he made no answer, seeing no man as he expressed it, and hearing a voice as if it were from my own intestines. Until the moment when I placed my mouth in his world, he had neither seen me nor heard anything except confused sounds beating against what I call his sides, but what he called the inside of his stomach. Nor had he even now the least conception of the region from which I had come. Outside his world or line, all was blank to him, nay, not even blank, for blank implies space. It was non-existent. Yes, boo-boo. Want to sit with me?
I'm just scared.
Now this continues to describe their world, and it scarcely needed to be added that their whole horizon was limited to one point. Nor would anyone ever see anything but a point. Man, woman, child, thing, each was a point to the eye of a Linelander. Only by the sound of the voice could sex or age be distinguished. Moreover, as each individual occupied the whole of the narrow path, so to speak, which constituted his universe, no one could ever move left or right or make way for passers-by. It followed that no Linelander could ever pass one another. Neighbors, boys, neighbors. Till death do they part. Such a life, with all vision limited to one point, and all motion to one straight line. It seemed to me inexpressibly dreary, and I was surprised to note the vivacity and cheerfulness in which the king operated. Thinking that it was time to bring him down from his pedestal, he decided to break down the dimensions to this king. How does your Royal Highness distinguish the shapes and positions of his subjects? For my part, I noticed by the sense of sight before I entered your kingdom that some of your people are lines and others are points, and that some lines are larger. You speak of an impossibility, said the king. You must have seen a vision, for to detect the difference between a line and a point by the sense of sight, as one knows not in the nature of things, it is impossible, but it can be detected by the sense of hearing. By the same means my shape can be exactly ascertained behind me. I am a line, the longest in Lineland, over 6 inches of space. Of length, I ventured to suggest. Fool, he said, space is length. Interrupt me again, and I will have you done. I apologize, but he continued scornfully, since you are impervious to argument, because he knows it all, you shall hear with your ears, yada, yada, yada. It goes on to describe how these beings converse, marry, and bear children through nothing but hearing, because they only have that one dimension to do everything in. But that is their everything, and they know of nothing else. They can't comprehend anything else, and they completely flat out deny the possibility that anything else could exist other than their tiny little world. The square now says to the king, just before I came into your kingdom, I saw you dancing from left to right, and then from right to left, with 7 men and a woman in your immediate proximity on the left, and 8 men and 2 women on your right. Is this correct? It is correct, said the king. So far the numbers and sexes are concerned, though I know not what you mean by left and right. But I deny that you saw those things, for how could you see a line, that is to say, inside of any man? Since they only see the points on either side, like we only see the outside of each other, everything else that can easily be perceived with the addition of one other dimension to them is their insides. That's inconceivable. Blah, 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 the inside of any man. But you must have heard these things, and then dreamt that you saw them. And let me ask you what you mean by the words left and right. I suppose that is your way of saying northwards and southwards. Not so, replied I. Besides your motion of northward and southward, there is another motion, which I call left and right, king. Exhibit to me, if you please, this motion from left to right. Nay, that I cannot do, unless you step out of your line altogether. So he cannot exhibit this unless that plane is left altogether. King, out of my line? Do you mean out of this world? Out of space? Well, yes, out of your world, out of space. For your space is not true space. True space is a plane. It's 2 dimensions. But your space is only a line. King, if you cannot indicate this motion from left to right by yourself moving in, then I beg you to describe it to me in words. If you cannot tell your left from your right side from your left, I fear that no words of mine can make my meaning clear to you, but surely you cannot be ignorant of so simple a distinction. King, I do not in the least understand you. Alas, how shall I make it clear? When you move straight on, does it not sometimes occur to you that you could move in some other way, turning your eye round so as to look in another direction towards which your side is now fronting? In other words, instead of always moving in the direction of one of your extremities, do you never feel the desire to move in the direction, so to speak, of your side? The king says never. And what do you mean? How can a man's inside front in any direction, or how can a man move in the direction of his inside? Well then, since words cannot explain the matter, I will try deeds, and I will move gradually out of Lineland in the direction which I desire to indicate to you. At the word, I began to move my body out of Flatland. As long as any part of me remained in his domain and in his view, the king kept exclaiming, "I see you, I still see you, you're not moving." But when I had last moved myself out of his line, he cried in the shrillest voice, "She has vanished, she is dead." "I am not dead," replied I am simply out of Lineland, that is to say, out of the straight line in which you call space, and inside of true space, where I can see things as they are. Note. And at this moment, I can see your line, or side, or inside, as you are pleased to call it. And I can also see the men and women of the north and the south of you, whom I will now enumerate, describing their order, their size, and interval between each.
Mama.
Yes, Boo-Boo, exactly. Okay, we're gonna go play. I'll be back. Hey guys, I decided I would come back and finish this video. It's gonna take me a while to get it updated. Loaded, excuse me. Wow, I am so tired. I'm brewing some coffee right now, so hopefully it will get done soon. I got ready for work and I was gonna work out, but I really don't feel like it, so I guess I'll just have to do all my physical labor tonight at work and actually get my workout in then. Anyway, I figured I'd go ahead and finish this up, get it uploaded, get it out there, and hopefully convert some people. So I think I ended with the last paragraph where the square ends up going out of Lineland and back into Flatland, and the king of Lineland is like, "Where did you go? You disappeared." And the square was like, "I didn't disappear, I just went out into real space where I can see things as they truly are." I'll get a little closer. Ugh. Okay, it's like I went out into real space where I could see things how they actually are. And that brings me to 1 John 3:2. No passion here. Ancient prophetic text, ancient Greek, Hebrew, the Septuagint, Epic of Gilgamesh. I love all of that stuff. I really think we've got a big disconnect from true history, and we could really learn a lot if we were actually taught actual history in school. Anyhow, it says, "Beloved, now we are all sons of God, and it doth not yet appear what we shall be. But we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he truly is." That's super deep because it infers that we can't see these higher beings as they truly are because we are not on their level yet. But as soon as we are transfigured into our new bodies, we will be able to see things as they truly are because we will be on that realm. So that's pretty cool, and it plays right into the book Flatland. The square ends up getting sick of this little line in his one-dimensional world, thinking he knows everything and thinking that nothing else exists but what he can experience in his little realm. So, excuse me, Square says, "Besotted being, you think yourself the perfection of existence while you are in reality the most imperfect and imbecile. You profess to see whereas you can see nothing but a point. You plume yourself on inferring the existence of a straight line, but I can see straight lines and for the existence of angles, triangles, squares, pentagons, hexagons, and even circles. Why waste more words? Suffice it that I am the completion of your incomplete self. You are a line, but I am the line of lines, called in my country a square, and even I, infinitely superior though I am to you, am of little account among the great nobles of Flatland, which I have come to visit you in the hope of enlightening your ignorance." Okay, so next, the sphere of 3 dimensions descends into the square's 2 dimensions. The square ends up asking the sphere, "Where do you come from?" And the sphere says, from space, my sir, where else?" The square says, "Pardon me, my lord, but isn't your lordship already in space? Your lordship and his humble servant at this very moment?" The sphere says, "Pooh, what do you know of space? Define space in your little 2 dimensions." The square says, "Space, my lord, is height and breadth infinitely prolonged." Sphere, exactly. You do not even see a 3rd dimension. You don't know what space is. You speak of 2 dimensions only. But I have come to announce to you a 3rd, height, breadth, and length. Your lordship is pleased to be merry. We also speak of length and height, or breadth and thickness. thus denotating 2 dimensions by 4 names. Sphere, but I mean not 3 names, but 3 dimensions. Square, would your lordship indicate or explain to me what the direction this 3rd dimension is, unknown to me? Sphere, I came from it. It is both above and below. Square, my lord means mostly northwards or southwards, correct? Sphere, I mean nothing of the kind. I mean a direction in which you cannot look because you have no eye in your side. Square, pardon me, my lord. A moment's inspection will convince your lordship that I have a perfect eye, the juncture of my 2 sides. Sphere, yes, but in order to see into space, you ought to have an eye not on your perimeter, but on your side, that is, on what you would call your insides, but we in Spaceland should call your sides. 3rd eye. An eye in my sides, an eye in my stomach. You crazy. Stranger, or Sphere, I am in no way crazy, or I am in no jesting humor. I tell you that I come from space, since you will not understand what space means from the land of 3 dimensions where I have looked onto your plane. From this advantage I discern all that you speak of as solids, by which you mean enclosed on 4 sides. Your houses, churches, your very chests and safe, even the insides in your stomach, all lying open, exposed to my view. The Sphere then goes and tries to explain to him that he can see inside this home, which to him is enclosed. I should go grab a picture real quick. I could probably slice this in, but I'll just show you now so I don't have to go through that trouble because I would probably screw it up. He can look in on his house where all of his little people are. But it's all closed in Flatland, so they can't look at it from above. Okay, Square's not convinced though. He says you could have easily found that out when we weren't there, poked around, figured where people were, asked neighbors. There's other ways you could have acquired that information. So he just kind of dismisses that proof right there. So the Sphere says to himself, what must I do? Stay, one more argument suggests itself to me. He goes into more arguments. And he says, I am not a plane figure, but a solid. Because 2 dimensions, just a plane only. You call me a circle, but in reality I'm not a circle. I'm an infinite number of circles varying of size, from a point to a circle of 13 inches diameter, one placed on top of the other. When I cut through your plane, as I'm now doing, I make a plane in your section, which you very rightly call a circle. For even a sphere, which is my proper name in my own country, if he manifests himself to an inhabitant of Flatland, must indeed manifest himself in a circle. And you can see here how if you were on that one plane, you can only see a circle inside because you are not above or below your own plane. So that's all you would see to a being of higher dimension manifesting itself to you. Do you not remember, for I who see all things discerned last night the phantasmal vision of Lineland? So the Sphere put into this squares inside the vision that he saw of the little king of Flatland. Do you not remember how when you entered the realm of Lineland you were compelled to manifest yourself to the king, not as a square but as a line, because that linear realm had not dimensions enough to represent the whole of you, but only a slice or section of you. In precisely the same way, your country of 2 dimensions is not spacious enough to represent me, a being of 3, but can only exhibit a slice or a section of me, which is what you call a circle. The diminished brightness of your eye indicates incredulity, but now prepare to receive yourself proof positive of the truth of my assertions. Okay, and he goes on to explain rising above the dimensional plane. It ended up making the square very angry because he could not understand. And it seems when people or beings are so confused, they just get really defensive. I have told you that I can see from my position in space the inside of all things that you consider closed. For example, I see yonder cupboard near where you are standing, several of what you call boxes, like everything else in Flatland, though, have no tops or bottoms, full of money. And I also see 2 tablets of accounts. I'm about to descend into that cupboard and bring to you one of those tablets. I saw you lock the cupboard half an hour ago, and I know you have the key in your position. But I descend from space. The doors you see remain unmoved. I am now in the cupboard, and I am now taking that tablet. Now I have it, and now I ascend with it. I rushed to the closet and dashed open the door. One of the tablets were gone. With a mocking laugh, the stranger appeared in the corner of the room. In the same time, the tablet appeared upon the floor. I took it up. There could be no doubt. It was the missing tablet. That part gave me the chills, because I don't know if you all have had experiences with beings like these, but that kind of describes some things that have happened to me personally, which is kind of crazy. It's time for my closing! Yay! I had nowhere else to put you. I just got to work, and I wanted to have this video done so I could hit upload and go into work and hopefully be done by the time I get out. That's how long it takes to upload. Okay, so closing. I know I had a few things to go into. I always forget. You can probably tell by watching my videos. I'm pretty scatterbrained. But our hero, the Square, the way the book ends is our Square is all excited to tell the world about the doctrine of 3 dimensions. He goes to the people and the leaders of like the government and the religious organizations or whoever runs his little world, and he tells them the gospel of 3 dimensions like he's supposed to enlighten these people. And turns out he's not a big hero like he thinks he's going to be. They've heard it all before. There's been people who've experienced this all before. They know all about it, and they don't want it out. So he gets thrown in jail with everyone else who has been contacted and interacted with these 3-dimensional beings or shapes. So Flatland, A Romance of Many Dimensions is written by our little Square in his jail cell. They just dismiss him. They don't even want it. They were already working with him to begin with. So they know. And we know. And they know that some of us know. And we know that they know. They just dismiss it. You've probably seen like news stories where there's like a UFO sighting and the reporters will make a snarking comment about it, and they'll be all sarcastic and they'll make a joke, and they think it's all funny and they think it's hilarious. Just dismissed, you know. Conspiracy theorists, it's derogatory, dismissed, even though time after time we've been proven to be right. Time after time prophecies are coming true. We're warning people. They just don't care. But there are some, you know, there are some, and that's why I'm doing this. I went down a very, very wrong path for a long time. I was harassed by things from other worlds for a long time, and I finally found the solution. And I don't care what the world thinks of me anymore. This is my truth, and I'm gonna spread it in Jesus' name. I'm just getting it out there. Ever since, I like to study the occult, you know, Alice Bailey, Blavatsky, Manly P. Hall, you know, like the old gross guys like Crowley and Jack Parsons and stuff. Like, I think it's really good to know who you're standing against, even like the deep occult stuff. Once you start learning about it, you start seeing it everywhere, and it really is seeping through this world right now. People who know nothing about conspiracy and know nothing about spirituality, they can look at the events going on in the world right now, and they know something is going on. Even President Putin said that the world is being pushed to an irreversible position right now. I think we are reaching a boiling point. And with the UN about to take over the internet, it's very important that we get the word out right now. And, you know, I'm going to try to do my part, because that's all I can do, and I don't want to get to the gates and get told that I didn't do enough, and I don't want to have regrets. So that's my video. It's like my second real try, so don't hate on me too much. I guess I'll keep doing it. Hopefully I'll get better. Thanks for watching, and I guess I will go into work now. Hopefully it'll be done by the time I get out. Bye.